Nehawu has given government 7 days to revise its wage offer to public sector employees or risk bringing the country to a standstill. Thousands of civil servants protested today, calling for above-inflation increases. But government won't budge on its 3% offer. Union leaders today handing over a memorandum of demands. This is to the Treasury Office. We're joined now by Nehawu President Mike Shingange. Mike, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Government has made it clear it's not changing its mind. You as the unions continue to dig in your heels over your demands. Where is this ultimately going to end?
Good evening, Captain. Good evening to your viewers. Well, probably, unfortunately, is going to end on the stalemate that we are seeing, and workers having to exercise their rights to demonstrate their dissatisfaction in the manner in which their employer is treating them. Because this is far beyond just the question of the 3% itself. It's now more about the undermining of collective bargaining principle itself, which includes when there's no agreement as against the rule of the play, you go ahead and implement that which you know that it has not received a sufficient majority in the bargaining council. So it's about restoring the principle of the collective bargaining. So unfortunately, it's going to result on indeed workers going on indefinite strike. It is now or never that the employer must stand up, the employees must stand up against the employer this time around.
I suppose on some level you're concerned about the fact that a precedent has been set. It was set already 2 years ago when government reneged on its wage agreement, and you see the 3% offer as a perpetuation of that pattern.
In fact, we see this pattern continuing in a manner that workers in 2020 did not get a salary increase at all, not because they did not demand a salary increase, not because they did not negotiate, not because they had no signed agreement. The workers did not get a salary increase in 2020 because in an existence of a 3-year agreement, the government decided to pull out of that and left workers in the bargaining council while they were trying to arbitrate on the matter. Then they went to court, and they went to constitutional court and got the ruling that they got. And the workers went from 2020 without a salary increase, not because it was their fault. And now, last year, you had the agreement that was signed by majority of the unions. It was implemented. This year, there's no agreement at all, but the employers implementing a wage increase that has no agreement at all. So, in fact, you are dealing with a situation where you've got an employer in a state that has no regard anymore whatsoever about the real essence and the principle of a collective bargaining. First, they walk away from it. They don't implement when there's a signed agreement. Secondly, they implement when there's no signed agreement. So it's a trend that workers are determined that if any or at all in future we're going to say that we are meaningfully engaging, this is a trend that has to be stopped, and it has to be stopped now.
Is that why we're seeing the union build up in terms of the action that we are seeing? Because you seem to be very focused on being able to get your members out on the streets. Is it a way of showing the muscle that you have, that you may think that perhaps government has forgotten?
It is a reason why the workers and the unions across the sectors and across the federations and the unions have realized that we're not going to do a stop-start. We're not going to rush into an action. We have to focus indeed and mobilizing and conscientizing our members about what is it that we are dealing with here. We are dealing with an employer that is determined to erode the gains of the democracy, the gains of the revolution, the gains of the rights that it accrued by those who came before us in fighting for the rights of collective bargaining. That is why the actions we are taking now, it is not a once-off strike, because we are very clear. Government has started for a very long time to erode and undermine the collective bargaining. We are on our 3rd year now without a real salary increase. We are on our 3rd year now without a pension increase. We are now on our 3rd, if not the 5th year, with the collective bargaining one by one being attacked and being curtailed. So we need a long-term plan ourselves. We need a long-term strategy. We need a long-term program That's why our program started with the picketing in the PCBC when we were conciliating. That's our program followed today by saying to the employer, we are willing, come back to the table, stop this thing of unilateralism that we are doing, because we work on majoritarianism in this democracy. But we are also saying we are coming on the 2nd of December, and we are coming in the early of the year, wherein we are going to have an indefinite strike. So we are determined to take for as long as it takes for us to restore the principle of collective bargaining and the fact that the employer and the government respect the collective bargaining rights.
All right. That is the Nehawu president there. So they're in it for the long haul, as you've heard him describe.